Lifecycle hooks in Lightning web components along with the order of execution in LWC. To explain this concept, I have created this component named learn lifecycle hooks. Currently there is nothing I have added on the HTML, and in the JavaScript you can see I have added bunch of methods here along with the constructor, and I have created another child component, and in the child component I have just added a p tag, and I have the similar kind of methods here. And to explain this method is, first is when the page loads, what happens is the constructor will be called. Constructor is the first thing which will be called in the order of execution. So in the constructor I have added this super method. Super will be called, super is needed here because whenever our class is extending some other class, we have to call super, and it will call the parent constructor first. If we don't call it, it would be a runtime error. So that's why I have added super here, and there is nothing logical I have done in JavaScript yet. So all I have done is just created the constructor and then added a console log to see that when this constructor will be called. So in the order of execution, first thing is, before even the content is inserted into the DOM, constructor will be called. Then all the API properties or the public properties would be inserted. I'll explain when we talk in the child component. So first thing is constructor, then the public properties, then the content is inserted into the DOM. This connected callback will be called again, and then the page renders, and every time page re-renders, this rendered callback will be called again. And when the page is removed from the DOM, this disconnected callback will be called again. And the error callback is to handle the error coming from the child components. I'll explain everything in detail. So let me deploy this component here, and I have created this Aura application, and clicking on this update preview is going to load our component here. So now when the page loads, what happens is, first thing is the constructor. After that we have the connected callback, and then we have the rendered callback called. So this constructor and connected callback, this is a one-time thing. It will be called only once when the page loads, but this rendered callback will be called every time something is changing on the page. And this constructor and connected callback, they flows from parent to child, which means the parent constructor and connected callback will be called first, and then the child constructor and connected callback will be called after that. But this is the opposite in rendered callback. In rendered callback, child's rendered callback will be called first, and after that parent callback will be called. So let's see this in action. For this we have this child component, and in the child component we have a similar kind of a thing, just a simple console log with the child keyword in it, so that we can see whether this is the log coming from a child component or the parent component. So let's call this component on the parent here. I'll just directly call it here like this, and just let me convert it into the kebab kissing. So I'm just okay. So now I have called this child component on the HTML, and oh, sorry about that, it's added twice. So now if we load the page, we can see that like which console log is coming first, and we can see this order of console logs. So now you can see first is the constructor, and then the connected callback, and then it is the child constructor, and then it is child connected callback, child rendered callback, and at last we have the rendered callback. So here you can see that first the parent constructor connected callback called, and then the child constructor and connected callback called after that. But in the rendered callback, child rendered callback called first, and after that parent's rendered callback is called. So this is what I mean by like flowing from parent to child and child to parent. So child rendered callback is called first, and after that the parent rendered callback will be called. Okay, so now to understand this rendered callback, like we need to do some change on the page to see that rendered callback is called or not. Like, so for that what we can do is, let me just create one p tag. I'll just mention a simple counter here. We just counter is, and we can just have this JavaScript property here, counter, and then we can create a a button here. To create a button, either we can just type all those lightning dash button and then label and the on click, and or we can set the variant, or what we can do is I have this code snippets available. I will just press LG and I can see both the suggestions. If I want the brand button, I'll go with this snippet. If I want the brand outline variant button, I'll go with this one. And the snippets is coming from this extension that I have uploaded on the VS Code marketplace. So if you want to use these snippets, you can just search my name on the marketplace. You will see only one application, and then you can just download these snippets. So throughout this course, you will see so many snippets that I am using, and if you want to use the same snippets, you can just download and install this application, and you can use all the snippets that are shown in this course. So right now we just have one p tag where I am just rendering the counter, and we have this button. Instead of giving the name button label, I will give a name as click me. Okay, so I'll declare this counter on JavaScript here. I will set it to 0, and on click of this button, what we will do is we will just change the value of the counter. We'll increase the counter. We'll increase the counter by 1. So this will increase the counter value by 1. This is one of the syntax to increase the value of any number. So here on click of the button, we are just increasing this value, and once the value will be increased, the same would be rendered here on the HTML, which causes a change in the page. So let's reload this page. Now you can see, like, we are aware of this order, like how these logs are coming and when the constructor and connected and other hooks are called. So now if I click on this button, it will change the value here, which means it is changing something on the DOM. Something is re-rendering on the page, and whenever something re-renders on the page, this rendered callback will be called again. So now if I click on it, it changes the value to 1, and you can see we got another rendered callback log here. Every time I'm clicking on this button, it is changing the value, it is re-rendering on the page, and it is calling this rendered callback method again. So every time when something re-renders on the page, this rendered callback will be called again. And now to understand the disconnected callback, what we can do is we can use another snippet here. We can use this TPI, and it will call this template and with LWC : if directive. So let me just paste it here, remove the extra space. So these things are called directives in LWC. So this is for conditionally rendering. So here we can mention, like, I will mention show child component. So whenever this value of this variable is true, only then this component will be inserted into the DOM. Otherwise this won't be there in the DOM. It's not like it won't be visible on the screen, it won't even there in the DOM itself. So let me declare this on HTML, and on the button click, instead of increasing the counter, what we can do is we can just set it to true or false in this method. So here, if the value of this variable is true, we'll assign the opposite of that. For that I have added an exclamation. If it is true, it will assign the opposite of true, which would be false. So if it is false, it will assign the opposite of that, which is going to be true. So on click of this button, first it will render the child component, and clicking the same button again, it will unrender it. So now to see this in action, let's spin this page. Okay, so now we got the logs only from the parent component itself, because the child is yet to be inserted into the DOM, because we have written in under the LWC : if directive. So now if I click on it, we can see this p tag is coming from the child component, and you can see all the child logs added here. And now if I click on this button again, it will remove it from the DOM. So I clicked it again, it is removed from the DOM, and now you can see disconnected callback is called. So disconnected callback will be called when we are removing our page from the DOM, and whenever we want to perform some logic when the page is being removed from the DOM, we can use this disconnected callback. And because the page is removed, earlier we can see there was this line, I'm a child component is coming here, now it is not there, so something changed on the page, so that change resulted this rendered callback to called again. So hope this rendered callback thing is cleared with all these examples, but still if you have any question, any confusion, feel free to mention in the comments section and I will respond to that as soon as I can. So now let's talk about the error callback. So to understand the error callback, what we will do is we will intentionally throw an error here in the connected callback. I'll throw an error, whoopsie, here. Okay, so now I have mentioned here this error callback is to handle the error coming from the child component. It won't handle the error coming from this component itself. So now I am throwing this error, I have deployed it, and now if we reload this page, now you can see error is thrown. We got the constructor log and then connected callback. After that we have this error thrown, and error is thrown here, it's not handled, and there is nothing coming from the error callback here. So now what we do is we'll remove this error from here. Let's deploy it, and then we go to child component, and let's throw this error here in the child component. Let's deploy the child component. Now if I reload this page, now you can see we don't have any issues because we have removed the error from the parent component. We have all the logs coming from the parent component. So now if I click on this button, we have the child component here, and in the child component you can see we got all the logs here, and we got this error printed here, and error callback log is printed, and the stack is coming. Stack is something on the parent component and then this child component. So this error is coming from this child component and there is nothing thrown on the screen. So what if I remove this error callback from parent component? So if I comment it out from the parent component, now if I reload the page and click on this click me button here, now you can see the error is thrown. We got the error here from the child component, it is not handled. So now one more time, if I uncomment it and then deploy it again, now if I spin my page and I click on this button again, you see no error is thrown, everything is working, and we got the error logs here, and the error callback is called again. So this is all about the lifecycle hooks in an LWC, and there is one last thing I wanted to highlight, which is the order of execution. Now we have seen that like when the page load or when the page is inserting into the DOM, first thing happens is the constructor will be called, and then the value of these public properties will be assigned, and the page will load into the DOM, then this connected callback will be called again. After that, on every render cycle, this rendered callback will be called again. At last, when the page is going out of the DOM, this disconnected callback will be called again. And during any of the spaces or during anywhere or during any action, if any error occurs, it will be handled on the error callback, and the error it will handle only the error coming from the child component. It is not for the current component. So this is the key thing to remember for error callback. And regarding the assignation of the API properties, this is also an important thing to remember here. So what is the order of execution here, order of assignation to these properties? So now I have declared prop1 and prop2. It's not like prop1 will be assigned first and prop2 will be assigned after that. It won't follow the order the way we have written here. We have right now prop1 first and then props2 second. It won't follow this order. Like it will follow the way we are assigning these properties. So in this component, so if we are having this prop2, so prop2 will be assigned first, and then we assign prop1, then the prop1 value will be assigned. So first here the prop2 will be assigned and then prop1 will be assigned. So this is also a key thing key thing to memorize here, because what if instead of these properties we have a getter setter here, and in the prop2 getter we are using prop1 getter and we are getting prop1 as undefined, because if we are assigning the prop1 first here, then the prop we have the value in the prop2. If the prop2 we are assigning second, then the value we have in the prop2. This might sound confusing to you, but when we create the getter setters in JavaScript, I'll explain this key thing again with an example. So right now you can just remember this thing is, it won't follow the order it is declared. It's not like prop1 will be assigned first and then prop2 is assigned after that, but instead it will follow this order. So if we have written this prop2 first, then the value to the prop2 will be assigned first, and then the value to the prop1 will be assigned. So the order we assign it here, the same order the values will be assigned to the API properties. So this is all about the lifecycle hooks in LWC and order of execution in the Lightning Web Component. So if you have any question, any confusion, any doubt, just feel free to mention in the comment section, and I will respond to each and every comment whenever I can. So stay tuned for the next sessions. So thank you so much for watching.